We start our story here, in the Tuileries Gardens in Paris, France. The year is 1664, and the monarch is Louis XIV, the Sun King. André Le Notre, the king's master gardener, has just re-landscaped the gardens in the formal French style, based on order and symmetry. He has bordered the gardens with low-rise hedges, outlining the grid structure that are the garden's defining feature. He has also erected 3 walkways along the central alley and surrounded the adjacent streets with straight rows of chestnut trees. Le Notre's careful planning and cultivation of the Tuileries Gardens was no accident. Meant to be looked at from above, the gardens are designed to project the power and authority of the king and the institution of the French monarchy. About a century later, the orchestrators of the French Revolution, obviously with the same idea in mind, imprisoned Louis XVI and his wife Marie Antoinette in the Tuileries Palace overlooking the gardens. Thus, the gardens became a message of the French Revolution, and the symbolic element of the gardens also changed. The First Republic was now the authority, the monarchy no more. Now, the Tuileries Gardens are not a singular example. Throughout history, art has been used by individuals and institutions to sculpt public opinion. During the Counter-Reformation, Jean Lorenzo Bernini's talents were enlisted by the Roman Catholic Church to create visual depictions of biblical scenes to reveal the divine to the ordinary man, who in the 16th century could not typically read. Even something like Pablo Picasso's Guernica has its political side. Painted after the bombing of the Basque town of Guernica during the Spanish Civil War, Picasso's masterpiece is often interpreted to be an anti-war message. Picasso's masterpiece is often interpreted to be an anti-war message. The Cubist elements only reinforcing the madness and incongruity of civil war. Now, I'm not arguing that all art is political. It is hard, for example, to ascribe a political agenda to something like Monet's water lilies. But I do want to point out that the way we receive political messages is complex and multifarious, and we need to pay attention to it. And this is not a new idea. Whole novels have been written based on the concept that politicians have subtle and subliminal ways to communicate with the public. Take Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, for example. In Brave New World, society is divided into 5 classes of people: the alphas, betas, deltas, epsilons, and gammas. In each sect of this society, individuals have predetermined roles, whether it is factory worker or world controller. Now, to ensure that each individual fulfills their role, each child in their infancy is placed in a large chamber, and from underneath their pillows are played politically orthodox messages through a soft speaker. When they become adults, this method of sleep learning is complemented by a socially engineered culture of casual sex and the use of the hallucinogen soma. Soma is a pleasure-inducing drug, and half a tablet of it can knock someone out for the weekend with no adverse effects when they wake up. Seems pretty good. Regardless, with all of the entertainment and pleasure, people in Brave New World have little time to do anything else, especially rebel against their own government. Turning to another example, we have George Orwell's 1984. Now, Orwell famously decried political language as designed to give an appearance of solidity to pure wind. So that already tells you something about his opinion. But in the novel 1984, the government of Oceania, Orwell's chosen setting, is attempting to remove all the words from the Newspeak dictionary. Now, Newspeak is a contrived form of English devised by the government to limit the people's free will. But by attempting to remove all the words from the Newspeak dictionary, the government is attempting to preemptively quell any political dissent. If there are no words around which to organize dissent, there can be no dissent. Now, Orwell's brilliance here is to show us not that the government of Oceania can use can manipulate language and manipulate the public, but rather to show the fear of Oceania, of language, a fear so strong that they want to eliminate language altogether. So Orwell is showing us that, in essence, that language can be used as a tool of political activism. Now, perhaps the greatest example of language as political activism in the modern era can be found in music, specifically hip-hop music. Now, hip-hop music was born out of the African tradition of rhythm and beat-centered music, and over its lifetime it has developed a political voice, even reclaiming racial slurs of the past. So I feel that the best way to, I guess, get a taste of hip-hop activism is to listen to some music. So here is J. Cole performing Be Free on the Letterman Show.
Yeah, forget this shame, cause this ain't me. Though I'm eternally grateful to Jay-Z. We're so elated, we celebrated like Obama waited until his last day in office to tell the nation, brothers getting their reparations, hey. A man can dream, can he? No disrespect in terms of change, I haven't seen any. Maybe he had good intentions, but was stifled by the system and was sad to learn he actually couldn't bring any. That's what I get for thinking. This world is fair, they let a brother steer the ship and never told him that this ship was sinking.
So hopefully the political undertones are fairly clear there. Lines like brothers is getting their reparations, and in terms of change I haven't seen any, clearly point to J. Cole's dissatisfaction with his political standing and that of the African American population in general, even in the modern United States. Okay, so now we've talked about the Tuileries Gardens, Brave New World, George Orwell, and hip-hop music, and how hopefully I've shown that political messages can be communicated in a variety of ways and by a variety of people. But however diverse these messaging forms are, they all function on essentially the same principle, selective attention. And the classical example of selective attention is a politician deflecting a question, where they they only answer the question that, the part of the question that is positive for them, or they change the topic entirely. And perhaps the greatest practitioner of this technique is our new president, Donald Trump. And he primarily communicates to us via Twitter, so let's take a look at some of his tweets. These are the first 4 tweets that came up when I Google image searched Trump tweets. And as you can see, he tends to use very simple language that has an emotional appeal. Lots of capital letters, lots of short phrases, and it often ends on a punchy word like lies or many such cases with an exclamation point or something of this nature. And he tends to do the same thing in interviews. He focuses on the part of the question that he likes to answer, and he will exclaim and he will repeat the same idea over and over again until the interviewer, Jimmy Fallon, is entranced. Trump's media strategy is communicated by something called the media cycle, in which when he answers a question or when he says something, the media reports on it, and people watch the media, watch the press, they absorb these ideas, and then when Trump is challenged by the press about a certain idea, he can point to all his supporters who believe the same thing as he does, because the media has reported on that. So this just goes to show that we have to be aware of what messages are coming to us and from where, whether they're online, directly from authority figures, or even from corporations. And we have to be aware of these messages to be more conscientious citizens and people. Thank you.